a time where we gather our loved ones, sing Christmas carols a little too loud, and eat really, really good food. But on this particular Christmas Eve, I was feeling something a bit different. Fear. The roads were slick with ice, and my brother's car was struggling to maintain traction on the road. His windshield wipers were doing the best they could to keep him from going virtually blind, but they can only do so much. I looked over at my girlfriend, almost scared to tears, and I said, I don't think I can do it. You see, it wasn't the treacherous road conditions that were truly scaring me. I had to meet her father for the first time that day. I had to make sure I made a good first impression. Today I'm going to be telling you, if you couldn't guess from that, how to make a good first impression. And why can I tell you, above all people? Well, I work at Pepe's Mexican restaurant in Maryville. And in my occupation, it's my job to serve people. Every single day when I go into work, I see a new face. So every single day I go into work, I have to make a good impression on people, not only for myself, but for the company that I'm working for. So I've gotten a lot of experience with it over the last year and a half that I've worked there. Whether it be in your personal or professional lives, you're all going to have to make a first impression sooner or later. Especially now that you guys are in high school, you underclassmen, you're going to be needing to go to job interviews pretty soon, whether it be at McDonald's or Albanese, whatever, these local places. So let's take a look at one of those first. Let's say McDonald's calls you up and they ask you to come into an interview next Wednesday at 5 p.m. Right off the bat, you need to be thinking about what you're going to say at that interview. Although you have never met the employer or have had an interview with the employer, you may know what they're going to say because there are common trends in job interviews. They want you to talk good about yourself. And unless you're a narcissist like myself, that may be kind of difficult. They ask things like, what makes you stand out from a crowd? Why should I hire you above all these other applicants that I have? When they pull out their fat stack, which they won't do that with you. Or when you're waiting in line, there's all these people coming out. You need to be the one to stand out in the crowd. You need to be the light in the dark. According to Business Town's article, How to Make a First Impression Count, you have about 30 seconds to make a good first impression. And about 55% of that is your appearance, according to sociolinguist Albert Mehrabian, who did an extensive research on first impressions. Only about 7% of your actual verbal content will be taken in those first 30 seconds. So people say, don't judge a book by its cover. Well, that's exactly what employers do. What I'm wearing right now for you gentlemen is something that could be worn to a job interview. You might want to you could throw a sweater over it if you're feeling extra nice or whatever. But this is something that is usually pretty good for any job interview that we would be going to at our ages. Ladies, it's a little different. I can't tell you exactly what to wear because I'm not a fashionista, but I can tell you what not to wear. And that's anything that would break the school dress code. So I know we are very annoyed with those rules here, but in the actual job environment, that is what they don't want you to do. After you get your stuff ready, gentlemen, if you can gel your hair, I would recommend doing that. You're going to, let's fast forward to the actual job interview. The very first impression they're going to get is you walking through that door. So before you even say anything, they're looking at you. So what do you need to do? You need to put on your confident walk. You need to put on your fashionista walk. Like so. How's it going? I'm Mikey James. Right there, that's where you got to get them. That is the hook of your interview, is those first few seconds. It seems very minimal, but that will get them going. The handshake is one of the most important tools for any person ever. And barely anybody knows how to do it correctly. Does anybody want to attempt a handshake on me? And I will honestly judge whether or not it's good. Sure, you, young man.
Yes.
All right, give me your best handshake. Now that's a good handshake. You see, everybody, I want you to look. He's got it nice and firm, we're tucked deep, and he's even got the hand on the shoulder. That is a good handshake right there. Any other volunteers? Miss Nelson. Very good. Another very firm handshake. You see, one common mistake that people always make is they either grab they grab the fingers, or they grab too tight. Those are the two most common mistakes. You're not trying to squeeze their knuckles and make them yell mercy, right? It's a firm handshake. From there, the interview is going to begin. So when the interview begins, you wait until your interviewer sits down. When he sits down, you sit down and you're sitting attentive. you have your back straight, you're leaning in slightly, but don't overdo it. You're not in love with this person. You're not, oh, you're so dreamy. No, and you're not slunched down either. You're not trying to look like a slob. You sit with good posture, you lean in slightly, and you get a lot of these. Yeah. Oh. Wow. A lot of those. That's what's going to get interviewers, that's what's going to give them the idea that you really know what you're doing. All right? Again, I talked about you need to talk good about yourself. Throughout the entire interview, I'd say about 90% of it is just boosting your own ego. But that's what needs to be done. At the end of the interview, ask questions. And I'm not talking about how much do I get paid. I'm talking about questions like, what would a day on my job look like if I got the job? What kind of opportunities will I have in the job? How can I expand my occupation in this job? How long could I go in this job and continue to go up in the ranks? Questions like that make it seem like you're really interested, even if you aren't. Even if you're just going to McDonald's because it's your first job when really you don't even want that job. Don't tell an employer that, because that's going to make them not want to hire you. What's the point of wasting resources to hire someone who's going to leave in a few weeks, right? You need to make it seem like you're going to be there forever, even if you're not going to. That is the best advice I give for a professional environment. Now, we also have our personal first impressions that we need to make, like meeting a girlfriend or boyfriend's parent or a friend's parent, things like that. Now, these kind of first impressions are very similar to professional first impressions, although they're a lot more casual. Obviously, you won't be sitting in a formal environment. You won't be having any sit-down, question-ask type things. I mean, you will be asked questions, but nothing like as extreme as an interview. So let's take a look at something like that. What it looks like. Again, same thing, firm handshake. How's it going? But in most scenarios, if you're meeting someone in a personal life, you're meeting it through someone else. For example, my girlfriend would say, oh, this is my boyfriend, Mikey. And then I'd introduce myself. So you got to wait for your cue. So after you get your cue and you introduce each other, take initiative in the conversation. That shows confidence, and that shows that you are an honest person. Whether or not you are, they're going to get that impression. And that's the thing, getting good first impressions. They're going to think you're an honest person, a go-getter. That's a good thing to have. Again, still in the first 30 seconds right now, right? Try, if you're funny, to make them laugh. That is one of the easiest ways to get comfortable with people. Easiest way to make a good first impression is to make someone laugh. If you're not funny, don't try it, because then you're just going to make yourself look like a fool and probably come off as weird. All right? So from there, again, take control of the conversation. Ask questions. Ask what's going on in their life. Things like that to show that you truly care about this person that you just met. If you are talking to an adult, be extremely polite. Use your manners, enunciate yourself correctly. Don't use swear words. That should be an obvious one, but I don't know with today's society and how we use foul language. Be a respectful young adult, all right? That is how you make a good impression in your personal life. In school, here's one thing that I never see. We don't really care about our first impressions at school, do we? We come to school, we go to our first hour class, and we sit down and we stay silent while the teacher talks about themselves. However, we forget that these teachers are judging us as well. And Ms. Nelson, cover your ears for this. Getting on a teacher's good side can get you out of a lot of crap. It can get you extensions on late work. It can get you bonus points that you may not have gotten. It's a good thing to have. A good thing is to be on a teacher's good side. So getting that good first impression on the first day of school is very easy. You sit down. When they ask questions, you should raise your hand until they tell you to stop raising your hand. That is a common problem I have. You should raise your hand until they say, someone else besides Mikey. And they look around the room for everybody else that doesn't have their hand raised. That is a good way to make a good first impression, because that shows you are enthusiastic about the class. That shows you care about what she or he is talking about. And that shows you want to be there. Now, today I talked about how to make a good first impression in professional lives, that includes school and work, and in your personal life when meeting new people or people that are going to be important for the long run. So I'm sure at this point you're all wondering how my impression with my girlfriend's father went. We walked out of the door, or out of the car, and the snow beneath my feet was only confirmation that I was truly approaching either my doom or my salvation. We got to the door and it swung open from her little sister. Her entire family was in the door. And her father was standing right in the middle. I didn't even look at anybody else. I looked him straight in the eye. I offered my hand and said, "I'm Mikey, nice to meet you." And he shook my hand back. And, well, considering the fact that I haven't been killed, I haven't been shot or choked out anytime soon, and I'm still dating the girl, I'd say it went pretty well. Thank you for your time, and I hope that you all learned how to make a good first impression.